Hi, welcome to Peay. What?
What
Wait
are we doing here?
This isn't Peay.
Whoa!
Where's the couch?
I don't know.
How did we get here? These chairs are very uncomfortable, and I do not like these
There's
lights.
no TV.
Where's the TV? Why are we
here?
What is this? All right, is this the verdict?
This is the verdict.
This is the verdict.
It's the verdict.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Verdict. I'm Ben Goodman.
I'm Franklin Galan.
And I'm Brandon Crosslin.
An age-old adventure classic has been revived. Based on the 2013 reboot, adventurer Lara Croft heads to the infamous island of Yamatai to find answers on her father's disappearance while exploring the ancient resting place of Queen Himiko. This is Tomb Raider.
What's your name?
Lara
Surname?
Croft. Lara, your father's gone. You can pick up where he left off. I see so much of him in you. Brilliant.
Hello, Sprout. If you're listening to this, then I must be dead. I found something, a tomb called the Mother of Death. If Trinity succeeds, our world is in danger. Promise me you will stop them.
I promise. I think I know where my dad went.
That's right in the middle of the Devil's Sea.
It will be an adventure.
Death is not an adventure.
You shouldn't have come here. But I'm glad that you did.
What do you know about my father?
Now I see the likeness, the recklessness.
Close the tomb once and for all. The fate of humanity is now in your hands.
Can't be too careful these days. The world has gone bloody mad.
I'll take two.
Alicia Vikander and Dominic West bring to life the Croft family in this recent adaptation of the popular 2013 video game. The movie takes its roots from the game, which took a cinematic approach from the shipwreck to the final boss fight, whereas the movie follows Lara from hostage to killer adventurer. With a 49% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has its definite ups and downs. What do you guys think of Tomb Raider?
I personally, for one, am a fan of Tomb Raider, especially just even from playing the games. And as soon as I saw that this was being made into a movie, I was a little interested, because when I started playing it back in maybe 2014 or a little bit after it was released, I was like, this is actually pretty entertaining, and I liked how it did it. But it didn't really fully appeal to me in the way that I thought it would.
See, I think of that's a credible argument right there, but then you gotta realize games translating the movies aren't really going to work that well. Like,
Exactly.
There's some things that are gonna be left out, there's some things that are gonna be kept in, but ultimately you're just gonna get a beat by beat for the main story points.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we talked about on last episode of Peay, that video games and movies are two different mediums of entertainment, and whenever directors try to take the grand scale of any game and try to put it into a 2.5-hour movie, there's definitely going to be things they have to leave out and leave fans upset. Just the same way that happens with novels going into movies. There's tons of content that you just can't visually tell in such a short amount of time.
I think just with this movie, though, when I was watching it, and like I already knew the storyline from the game that it derives from, I was like, halfway is still in the right way, but not even halfway. I think maybe that's too generous, being like a quarter way. Because yes, you're still going to the same island that the game is based on. You still have the original characters and like the original antagonists of who they're really trying to fight, but it's just I don't know. Like the thrills are there when you see a lot of the thrills in the movie from that derive from the game. They're definitely there, and they bring in that extra little bit of difficulty. But it's still like taking a lot of things away from that you said. It takes a lot of, you can't have everything fully adapted into the game and into a movie, but it does bring better storytelling from a different perspective from where you are.
Now, didn't they make a Tomb Raider movie with Jessica Alba?
Yeah.
I was thinking about
it was Angelina Jolie.
Oh yeah, that's
Angelina Jolie.
That's
yeah,
what it was.
Like 2003.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, that one had 2 movies.
Yeah, like back whenever Tomb Raider, I guess, was in its peak, probably of popularity, because it was just like exploding, you know.
Yeah. Pixelated, like 2D, 3D, finally like expanding into some of those adventures. But then obviously it fell off the map, and then it came back.
Tomb Raider, the series itself started in the 90s, and it just kept growing and growing, like you guys have been saying. And then later on, we got the movie with Angelina Jolie, and then there were a few games after that, but then it just kind of like faltered. Like the series itself died down. Then we had the reboot, and that, as you guys can tell, it just was so popular that we have this movie now.
What company owns Tomb Raider? Is it Ubisoft?
It's Square Enix.
Yeah, I think Square Enix.
What's the larger company of that? Or that they are the?
I think.
Yeah,
just the developers from them, but.
Isn't that Eidos?
No, there was like Eidos or Eidos Montreal. Then it was Crystal Dynamics.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd have to see the logo to recognize them, probably.
Yeah, but I mean, for what it's worth, even though it's got like that 50% rating with Rotten Tomatoes and critics, I still halfway enjoyed it, just because I enjoyed playing the game and everything, going through that whole entire thing. But would I like to see something a little more closer to it? Absolutely. There's a lot of things I would have loved to see.
See, I share that opinion, but I'm a little bit different. I enjoyed the movie for what it was, sure, but the thing is, for me, while it does need a little bit more, ultimately, I'm probably not going to remember it after a couple of weeks.
That's
but it's
fair.
still pretty decent as a film on its own.
That's fair.
That trailer by itself seemed a little long.
Yeah, that's a whole.
But I guess that's just typical of trailers in today's day and age.
That's still 2017, so I'm
Preach
not
to the choir.
I'm not really surprised by that. But even just if you weren't to see the movie, but you were interested in playing the game that is derived from, would you guys want to?
Yeah. I mean, maybe the movie is a good advertisement for new fans. I'm sure that's probably their idea the whole time, but yeah, it's like one big advertisement for the game.
Because we had talked about it a few weeks ago that their newest Tomb Raider game that they were like teasing and everything came out basically that same weekend, or like within a few days of this movie's release.
Oh yeah.
So that would even that should even bring out a little bit more something for fans to be really into that.
And just a couple of days ago, all the Tomb Raider franchise was on sale on Steam, so maybe they're getting ready to hype it up.
Maybe.
With this upcoming movie.
Maybe. But go ahead.
No, you were right on that. They just, a couple of weeks before the film, or actually, yeah, a couple of weeks before the film was coming out, they just announced the next mainline game in this rebooted franchise for Tomb Raider. And for that, plus the movie, it just seems like it's a good time to be someone who's interested in playing the series right now.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. I've loved how they've done it, rebooted it, and brought it back, and I'm looking forward to see how they continue that and future games, and possibly even maybe a better movie than this one. Maybe just pulling a little bit more from
Only
that.
time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
So, we move on to our next movie. The protection of Earthrealm is at stake as a Thunder God chooses 3 skilled fighters to fight in an ancient tournament deciding its fate. From ninjas to kung fu and a 4-armed claymation beast that might leave you in stitches. Welcome to Mortal Kombat.
In each of us, there burns the fury of a warrior. In every generation, a few are chosen to prove it.
One of you three will decide the outcome of the tournament.
Three strangers will travel to the mystical realm of Outworld to defend our people against Shang Tsung.
You will die.
And his forces of darkness in an ancient tournament. One more victory.
Your soul is mine.
And our world is theirs.
It has begun!
You can't run from me, Shang!
I don't need to run.
Combat begins.
Our lead heroes, Christopher Lambert and Robin Shou, portray Raiden and Liu Kang in the motion picture adaptation from the original game released in 1993. The movie cuts out a lot of the bloody fatalities that we know and love when we play, but it still manages to keep its focus on the original characters and the story of the first game. What do you guys think about
Mortal Kombat. Dun, 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 dun.
this? Who doesn't know that song though? Like
Fatality.
They said that so many times in the film.
Did they say it in the movie?
Yeah, they did.
They do, but it's not. But
Out
it's
loud or like
it's not that
voiceover?
It's not that extra though.
No,
Let's
it's not
just
that
be
extra.
honest.
They just go, fatality.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Basically. But,
They go like, what, fatality, flawless victory. I heard that several times.
yeah.
Flawless victory.
The movie, I could just talk so much about Raiden. I think he was my favorite character in the film because just the guy who portrayed him, I don't really remember his name that well. It just escapes me right now. But it just felt like for him, portraying Raiden, it was such a fun time.
Are you talking about Christopher Lambert, who I just said his name on the script?
Christopher Lambert. It would have been nice to see like Bruce Lee or somebody like that on the movie like this. Imagine if he were alive in '95 to.
I'm not saying that wouldn't be good. I mean, I think just for like the characters and the cast that they had to put all the characters in there, I thought it went halfway well in what they had to do in the special effects department for not only the practical effects but the CGI and all of that for what it was worth in '95.
Cool new mid-'90s CGI. I could just imagine all those nerds at their computers go, I get to put these graphics on the movie. Like it's all brand new, and you know, Pixar was one of the pioneers in that kind of technology, and then George Lucas got his hands on it and made the prequels. So
oh boy,
it's all shades of CGI.
I'll go ahead and say this. One that I was talking about in the intro, one of the cheesiest things that was in there was especially Goro. Because if you've ever seen the original Mortal Kombat game from '93, whether that was in the arcade or on Sega Genesis, all he was just a big claymation figure that they just moved in different positions to get his movements and put him in the game. And as soon as I looked at him and I saw him in the movie, I'm like, he's definitely a claymation. You can definitely see that something's still different about him. And then they just made him way too cartoony, because I think eventually the signature Johnny Cage nut punch just made his eyes just bug out like a cartoon. And I'm like, come on now, you can't do that to Goro. He's bad as it is. Let's not make him any worse than he already is.
When I saw that scene, I was just like, oh no. No, like we're falling into new territory here. Like this is a movie where if I watched it with my parents as a kid, I'd just say, "Yep, this is fine. This is fine." You know how you have some movies where they say you need like parental guidance? I feel like my parents, if I was a little kid right now and they saw me watch it, they'd be like, "Oh, it's fine. It's okay."
Yeah. But then when you play the game and you're getting your
that's a different
head
story.
ripped off of your body.
If you want the audience to take your movies seriously, you got to stay serious throughout. You can't like have all this mundane moments and then a guy gets his eyes bulged out. It doesn't match up.
I think just the actor who played Shang Tsung, he's just a little too extra because we even saw it in the trailer and we were pointing it out and laughing at it. His eyes were like bugging out like, "You." I don't know what he was saying, but it was too funny. I'm like, he's a little too extra. Let's be honest about that.
I mean, you said it yourself with the script on here that they've toned down a lot of what made Mortal Kombat so memorable, but then essentially, as we mentioned with Tomb Raider, you still got the beat-by-beat version of the story. Like, you got the important points, you saw certain characters straight from the game, and you got the story.
Yeah. Brandon, you have any words to add to this?
I do not.
It's okay.
For Mortal Kombat, though, in recent years, yes, the movie, as we saw and have been discussing, the movie is pretty cheesy. Kind of corny. It's a 90s movie.
It is.
We can't.
Even for 95, that's cheesier than they could have made it.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
They probably said, we can make this a little cheesy. It's a video game.
Yeah, but then they made it even cornier when they did a sequel to it and started including the other characters from Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, and then it just got even worse. It got even worse. But I remember seeing, I think it was 2011 when they released this, Machinima released like a Mortal Kombat mini-series on their YouTube channel where the acting was extremely well done. The effects looked amazing, and even when I was watching it, I was like, this is really good. This is really gritty. This is what like the Mortal Kombat series should be whenever you are like portraying it on to like TV or in a movie such as this. You don't need to make it extremely corny. Like back in the day for the 90s, yeah, it was supposed to be like for maybe the upper maturity level in kids and for whatnot, if you're getting your whole entire body burned to a crisp or your head ripped off, et cetera, but I think it did take time for it to finally develop into what it is now, and I think even as a start, this was halfway a decent start.
I wonder why Netflix doesn't give Machinima a call. Like, I'll definitely have to check that out.
I don't know, but I'll be sure to send you the link and everything.
But
check
then
it out for yourself.
At the same time, you have to realize that certain series or certain games itself should stay as they are. I mean, yes, you have movies that can somehow work, Tomb Raider and even Mortal Kombat for what it was. But recently, over the past couple of years, NetherRealm Studios has taken the time to sort of make a somewhat decent story with the Mortal Kombat games, from Mortal Kombat 9 to MKX. And now it's even moved on with the Injustice series to where we're actually getting games that have stories that can be seen on a cinematic level, but they're still just games itself.
So the next question would be, what if the DC Universe and the DC movie series were to actually derive that from Injustice and start taking that series into film?
Well, as long as it's anything better than Mortal Kombat, it's a step in the right direction.
Is there Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe?
No, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that at all.
I'm just saying, that is a thing, right?
It is a thing, but we don't talk about it.
That should never be made into a movie.
No. If that were made into a movie, it'd be done in an instant.
It's hard pass. Just ignore that. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, now on to our next movie. The cameras are pointing to me, so I guess that means it's time for me to start talking. We all at one point remember busting out our quarters at the arcade or laundromat and playing classics like Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, and Pac-Man. Well, I don't. I'm not really old enough. But what if those 8-bit characters we think so fondly of came to life and took over this world? The fight is on in this Sony Pictures film. Get ready to get nerdy. This is not Peay, it's Pixels. Take a look.
3, 2, 1.
For our freedom and yours.
Some alien life force has sent real-life video games to attack us. Pac-Man's a bad guy?
Incoming!
Donkey Kong.
It's just a barrel. How bad can it hurt?
The only way to take down Pac-Man is with ghosts.
You want ghosts? These are your ghosts.
Oh, yeah!
We're the only ones who can do this!
I'm kidding. We are all gonna die. I'm just sorry.
May I introduce to you Professor Iwatani, the creator of Pac-Man.
Pac-Man is not bad. You'll see.
Professor Iwatani, what are you doing?
I will talk to him. He's my son. Hello, my sweet little boy. Look how big you've grown.
That's so sweet. He's so sweet.
I know. You're a good boy.
Somebody annihilate this stupid thing!
I'm so sorry for that last little bit there, but comedy and acting legends like Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Peter Dinklage, and Josh Gad get their nerd on in this 2015 film. Even though the appeal was there for adults who had memories of these games, it didn't go over well with the critics on multiple platforms, as well as myself. So what did you think about this trash, guys?
I'll call it, I don't know, it's trash, but you just...
See, for me, for an Adam Sandler film, I'd put this pretty low. Like,
It's very low.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it's below Jack and Jill.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh,
I kid you
what?
not. Yes.
How does Jack and Jill have a higher...
Or close. Like, it was like 15, what was it, 15%?
I saw 17.
17? 17%, that's right. Yeah.
17 was the critic rating, but then when
It's
you
like
look,
worse than
but when you
That's
look,
My Boy,
When
or-
you looked at the viewer rating, it was like right in the middle of like 50, I think.
See, hold on a second here. We got to talk about it like this. Yes, this is a video game movie. It still has the same argument to me on Tomb Raider, where it's not really that memorable.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the movie, and then I just sat there and I was like, did I just waste a few hours of my life?
that you did.
I did. And
like, all the comedy in this movie does not hit.
No.
The punchlines are so off. It's so awkward to watch.
But do you know what that's still like Sony's thing nowadays?
Yeah,
Have you not
and that's
seen...
why they're suffering as a company, because
like,
they can't. The Emoji Movie is trash.
Oh, that's true.
Pixels is trash. Sony cannot put a good product out anymore. And Adam Sandler's career, if he does not take a switch and just busting out movies every chance he can, it's going to dwindle.
Yeah.
Dwindle?
It's going to die. It's
Die?
It's already dwindling. It's already dead.
It's already been doing that.
All right.
It's been dead for a long time now.
No. It's not dead. It's not dead. Hold on a second. To me, let me start this off by saying this. I prefer his older movies, like, 50 First Dates, Mr. Deeds. Waterboy,
Yeah.
classic. Happy Gilmore,
Yeah.
stuff like that. When I saw the trailer for Pixels and when I watched the movie, I was just like, what is going on here? What what brought us to this point here? Why is Peter Dinklage here? I mean, yes, I know he can be a funny guy, but then think about it. Pixels, and I'm sorry for even mentioning this, underdog.
But like,
What are you doing here?
There's this publicity photo of Adam Sandler at the premiere of Pixels, and even he didn't look happy. he was like, he looked really like depressed. Like, this is what my career has come to. My career is in the toilet.
We're going back to like SNL skits now,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Oh no!
Happy Thanksgiving.
There was a lot wrong with this movie, in my opinion.
So much wrong.
There's
I recommend watching the Nostalgia Critics review of Pixels. He explains everything about this movie why it's the low point of his career.
low point.
There's probably other times in other movies that he's
Jack
had
and
yeah, I think that's even the lowest. I think it's even lower than Pixels because he had to play himself as a
sure.
woman. I'm like, no, please no. This looks wrong on so many levels.
See, no, for me, I feel like his decline started with Grown Ups. I honestly think that. I watched Grown Ups.
And then Grown Ups 2?
No.
We don't talk about Grown Ups 2.
No, I watched Grown Ups. I didn't laugh. I walked out the movie.
Really?
Really?
Yes,
In the middle?
I walked out. No, I couldn't even make it like till it's the end of the movie.
Wow, I've never walked out of a movie, no matter how terrible it was.
I don't think I've walked out of a movie, but I've fallen asleep during the middle of a movie.
yeah.
I
Before we get out of this subject, I want to bring up the terrible choice of making Kevin James the president in this movie. The president of the United States is Kevin James. That right there is a punchline on its own.
So we should probably have, like, instead of the normal presidential march, it should have been like played with tubas, like you hear all the
come on.
commercials.
But like Adam Sandler's best friend in the Hollywood business, Kevin James.
Basically.
And so he's like, hey, I'm getting my best friend to be in the movie with me. It's going to be great. Who's he going to play? Oh, he's going to be the president. Like, no, get somebody who actually looks like they could be the president. The president has to be at least 45 years old.
Let's get Morgan Freeman to
Are
be
we
the
also-
president. He's done it before.
Get Morgan Freeman. Do something better than Kevin James.
hold on a second though. Are we still not going to talk about another issue here?
What's that?
What's that?
How are you guys not noticing that Adam Sandler and even the other comedians in there have been typecasted? Like, whenever you think of comedy, they're going to be in there somewhere. Their argument is always going to be that they're going to have a spot in there. Yes, they've had movies where they were hits, and now we're talking about a really big miss right here. But then think about it like this. What can they do to be different from what they've done in the past?
Not do comedy? Like one of Adam Sandler's best movies was not a comedy. It was like, I forgot what it was called. It was like more of a actual serious movie, and it did really well.
I can't think
In the
of it
mid-thousands.
right now.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
I mean, if you're putting in Josh Gad as a comedian, like, I don't find that right because he's been on Broadway and done so many different other things. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from on him being typecasted on everything. The Peter Dinklage thing, I'm still a little wary of, and I'm still not getting that completely. But
I'm being too broad. What I mean by that is pretty much Adam Sandler.
Yeah, well-
Adam Sandler and then a few other people in the cast. We're going to have to keep going on this later.
we're gonna have to leave that question up in the air, I believe.
And it's time for an outro.
Exactly. So thank you guys for watching this episode of The Verdict. Next week we will be discussing cult classics, and tune in for our show, Peay, on April 16th, where it'll be our next episode featuring our awesome director, Taylor Moore.
It's going to be great.
That's it. See you guys later.
Later, guys.